So
cool.
I think it was.
Hold on.
Oh, you're a son
Casey,
of a bitch.
Sorry, Casey's back. Hold on.
This week's episode is brought to you by our buddies over at Mutiny Info Cafe, where they not only have a great selection of used books, records, and great coffee, but they also have a fantastic selection of new and used comic books, graphic novels, and more. Mutiny Information Cafe in Denver at the corner of Broadway and Ellsworth, and online at mutinyinfocafe.com.
This week, Black Panther Spectacular with Casey Knight and Steph from Not So Nerdy Nerd. In news, we got Batman Ninja anime, Star Wars meets Blade Runner 2049, Obi Wan spinoff, PS4 versus Switch, and Bendis news. Check it out.
All right.
Welcome,
What's
everybody.
up, everybody?
What up?
Number 92.
92.
92!
Getting
Oh,
old.
so good.
Getting old. Crazy week. I really didn't do much this week. I played a lot of Monster Hunter World.
Get it tomorrow.
It's
great.
I looked at my time played, and it's probably 22 hours now.
Yeah, I'm at
Damn,
35 somehow. I saw that, I was like, how the fuck have I done 35 hours?
It's funny. I was sitting there this week playing it, and I thought, okay, my opinion has changed. I was trying to actively talk Dirk into waiting till later. No, you got to get it. It's so great. It's so fun. You can do so much different things. Like,
I have a question. So, what is it about it, like, in terms of losing yourself in the game? It's not like a Witcher type thing, right? I mean, I know it's open world, but what makes you draw back to it?
it's the experience with your homies.
Yeah.
Okay,
just
so
hanging with your
single
friends.
story.
No, single story's on point. It really
yeah,
is.
It's good, but that's
Okay.
not what it makes me just love it so much is like when we're just playing together for 3 hours and we do a couple missions, we just go fishing, we go craft our armor, like it's super just relaxed hanging out with my friends.
It's
Chase
a
down a
bud game.
T-Rex,
Yeah.
down the T-Rex, and then end up with a Tukadoshi or a freaking dragon. Is
Just
crazy.
start calling those bud games.
It
Bud
is a
games.
great game. And then, in light of with them releasing the Ryu armor from Street Fighter V, I bought Street Fighter V, and so I was playing through that, and I haven't played Street Fighter since Street Fighter 2 Turbo or whatever edition, and I was playing Street Fighter 2 on my Super Nintendo, my SNES Classic Mini, super awesome, and I found myself I felt like I was a 13-year-old kid again, getting pissed off at the game, pissed off at the controller, because the controller's just not, it doesn't register unless you tell it that this is what I'm doing with the controller. and it's just not really intuitive. And so I started playing Street Fighter V, and it was just amazing. And my son was loving it because all the special moves that Ryu can do. And he's like, do your blue special move, Daddy. Do your and it's just, it was a really fun game. So I played through it longer than I thought I was going to play.
I really like it too.
And then I loaded up Monster Hunter World. Boom, the quest popped on me. And I went into the arena, and it's geared for 2 people. And you fight as Ryu with weapons from Monster Hunter World.
Right.
In the game, they call it Ryu. I've always called him Ryu. I was trying to be.
Yeah.
But the arena quest is hard. If you have 2 people, more power to you. But man,
That's awesome.
I'm not going to spoil it. But yeah, don't use heavy weapons. It only gives you a handful of weapons to choose from and specific loadouts. Don't pick a heavy weapon. You need mobility fighting the creature, because if not, you will just get bowled over and owned. But it also lets you try out some of the other stuff from the game later. Yeah. Huh?
What?
I'm not doing spoilers. Not doing spoilers.
Ah, where is it?
I don't know.
You got
but-
lucky
Get
on
ready.
that.
Yeah, get
Burn
ready.
that shit. So other than that, it was good. That's all I really did. I didn't have time to read comics, and I watched a great movie, Black Panther, yesterday.
Of course.
But that's for later at the end of the show.
It's Black Panther Spectacular.
It is.
All right,
Yeah.
so my week, I finally finished The Defenders.
Oh my
And-
god.
Man, it is a piece of shit. God, I just gotta say, especially the last episode is.
That's what I
terrible
heard.
that they want to wrap it up like that. Like the more I've kind of sat, because I've really spaced out how long it's taken me to watch the 8 episodes or whatever, and it's just everybody keeps telling me The Punisher's good. I'm not gonna watch that until it's the last thing that I have to watch, because I'm just after Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and The Defenders. That's some terrible hours of television that I will never get back. And
You should have just cut your
mic
losses
sounds
and hit
messed up,
Punisher, man.
Yeah.
so that's all I got to say about The Defenders. Garbage.
Our good buddy Dave Soria wrote a book, Midnight Arcade. I got it in the mail here, and it is perfectly aimed for my kids' age. It's a kid's book. It's like an old school choose your own adventure. The cool thing in it is you get to. So it's about the Midnight Arcade is like this haunted arcade in an abandoned mall that these kids break into in the middle of the night, and then when they get there, there's arcade machines in there, and you pick a machine, and then it'll show you like the picture of the like joystick with the buttons next to it, and instead of and when you make choices, it's like, what are you doing with the controls in the game? So move forward, move left, move right, attack or jump or whatever, and then turn to page 47. You know what I mean? And then you play
Choose your own
through it like
adventure,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, like
Awesome.
my kids, you have to tell them that they're not allowed to be on a screen for them to not be on a screen, and this book got them off screens of their own choice for a while.
Wow.
So that's the biggest compliment that I can give, because it's aimed at them and they absolutely dug it. They ate it up, and I had to as well, just to check it out. And yeah, it's
That's
cool
awesome.
stuff. Yep. So just wanted to throw that out there. Gabe Soria, Midnight Arcade. You can get it on Amazon. I saw it on there. Then as far as games this week, we'll talk a lot about Monster Hunter World, because Monster Hunter World is fucking fantastic. It's so good. I love it. And
That is awesome.
yeah, but that's all I'll say about that. I beat Plague of Shadows last week, so
I just got it today.
yep, chalk one up here. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Can't say enough about how I love it. And it's I give it 9 out of 10. To be honest, and the only reason it's not a 10 out of 10 is there are 2 sections of levels in the game that were too hard for me. The rest of it, I feel like it's perfectly balanced as far as difficulty and stuff for that type of game.
Yeah.
2 I got stuck
I'm
on,
excited.
and they're kind of different than the rest of the game. But other than that, love it so much. The action's great. The story is so great. I can't stress how great it is. Love it. 9
I
out of 10.
can't wait.
Yep. And then I picked up last night for the first time. I just felt bad about having this game and not even turning it on when I've been waiting for it for so long. And
I saw that.
played The Last Guardian. And I got to say, I think I'm going to delete it from the hard drive and never turn it on again. It's the controls are inexcusable. As awesome as Bird Dog is, I don't care. I'm not gonna fight with the camera. It's too bad.
I have to agree. Yeah.
It sucks. So unfortunate, I feel like.
Yeah,
And
the
then,
controls suck, and then it's really not that great once you start playing it, even beyond the controls.
I mean,
It's like labor. You know?
you're totally right, and that's my point. But I have to say that Berg Dog is
Work.
awesome.
He is awesome.
I wish somebody'd redo it, but they already spent 10 years on a terrible game, so I'm sure they're not going to spend any more time. So a few other things, putting some more time into the Witcher book. Feel bad about not doing it, and love it. It's great. Read this today.
Yeah.
Sucked. Huh?
Terrible. Terrible. Stay very far away from this. And then I was at GameStop.
Is that 1 or 2?
It's 1 or 2. Yeah.
I got 2 of 2.
Oh, have you read it?
No.
Bring it when you come, and we'll reunite.
Yeah.
So I stepped into a GameStop today because I had to kill 40 minutes, and when I don't go to GameStop very often anymore. I buy all my stuff digitally nowadays. When I was in there hanging out, checking stuff out, looking the shelf, and I see there's 2 books in the shelf that the price tag on them clear as day says they cost 1 penny. And I was like, is this a joke or whatever? And I brought it up to the guy, and I was like, this isn't right, huh? And he goes, actually, they do that when they are just going to throw them away. They put them out there in a penny in that bin. And so for a penny,
Wow.
shit you not, first of all, I got the strategy guide for this game that I own, which I wouldn't buy strategy guides normally, but for a penny, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is thick, right?
Hoarder. You're a hoarder.
And then, this is the bad boy, though. This is unbelievable. I would have paid real money for this. So,
Whoa.
right?
What is that?
It's
a
a friggin'
cartridge.
History of Nintendo hardcover book.
What?
Oh my
That's
God.
awesome.
It's built like a cartridge.
For a fucking
I mean, just-
penny. God.
Wow.
You suck, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You know, so that was
How
my
do you
week.
find that?
Oh, man.
Hey.
Go ahead.
Corey, you gotta follow that up, bro.
All right.
That was awesome.
Wow.
So I started streaming it last week. Beat Mass Effect Andromeda.
Jesus
Of course you
Christ.
did.
So
I'd be disappointed if you didn't.
had to do it. It's also it's on sale on the flash sale right now for like $9.75.
Worth it?
Super worth it.
Okay.
I thought it was great. Like I said last time, a lot of people talked a bunch of shit about it, but it was a great game. I mean that the story was great. The characters are cool. The combat was awesome. I mean, it was a little glitchy here and there, but for a BioWare game, you know, making decisions and just everything about it was really great. Really enjoyed it. I give it an 8 out of 10.
How many times did you get laid?
Just once.
Okay. Just curious. Okay.
I went with the girl with the accent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was my question.
Yeah. I decided to go for her. I didn't agree with her religious views, but I told her what I did. So,
Classic.
you know, worth it. But
Totally.
So then I went to look for the next game to play. Tried to play Shovel Knight, and I don't like that fucking game. I know Nate loves it, but I don't like it. After playing Celeste, I was like, okay, maybe I like platformers. I need to give Shovel Knight another chance, like, because Celeste was a super difficult platformer, and so was Shovel Knight. But for some reason, I don't get frustrated in Celeste. I just get frustrated the whole time in Shovel Knight, and it's like you start way back on checkpoints. Like in Celeste, like the whole levels, you go, you know, like in Shovel Knight or any platformer, it goes from like one screen to the next. If you die in Celeste, you start on that screen. If you die in Shovel Knight, you go way the fuck back, and you die a lot because it's hard.
That's Nintendo.
And so
Nintendo game.
You just
and then
gotta
I just
get good, dude.
I guess, but
Get
it's, I mean, it's frustrating. I don't enjoy Shovel. I feel like the platforming's clunky. It's
Wait a second,
I
shut
don't-
up. Hold on. No, you can't say the platforming's
Up there,
clunky.
fast words.
You cannot say the platforming's clunky.
I'm not a big fan of it.
Clunky is
Jump.
not the correct adjective, though.
Clunky. Maybe not
I was
clunky.
totally cool with everything
Put
you
it
said.
in
Like,
there.
we got
Just the way
different
he
tastes.
jumps. It's kind of like a floaty jump. It's not a great,
That's
not
cool.
a
You gotta
good
stop,
jump.
Dude. Stop it.
but
Stop it.
That's old school platformer.
I love
No,
it.
it's not like he's wrong. It's not like that. It is an old school platformer, but it's not floaty. No, it's cool. I mean, clearly we talked about it on the phone, and like gentlemen of a certain age experienced Mega Man 1 and 2 when they were new.
Shit,
right?
yeah.
And if you liked that kind of challenge, then you still kind of do. You know,
Cut,
and
man.
Yeah, but I hear you how it not being for everybody. But to start talking shit about how like the physics aren't good in it, you're just dead wrong about that.
Wow.
It's not for me though. I feel like I still want to try it again for how much you talk it up, but I just every time I play it, I just can't get into it.
Wait until Dirk gets to Plague Knight, and if he has the
vote.
love of the story that I have, then I'll say that you should get back into it. But I don't
I
know.
have the tiebreaker vote.
Is Plague Knight the one with the beakers and the level and stuff? I mean, that's the level I'm on.
No, it's the expansion.
Yeah, what the
is
hell?
a whole different game where you are Plague Knight.
Dude,
Okay.
Corey.
Not Shovel Knight.
I mean, Christ almighty.
Oh, there's beakers.
It's like a turkey, Corey.
It's way different from the turkey. Don't even mention that. In case people have an idea of what talking about.
I'm with Corey on the turkey diagnosis.
So, anyways, also tried Guacamelee. Wasn't really feeling that either.
What? Oh, come on.
Oh no.
Now you're just trolling.
I just wasn't really feeling it. I liked it more than Shovel Knight, but I might go back to Guacamelee. I just decided I just put it down.
Look, Guacamelee starts off a little slow, I'll admit, but you learn so many moves in there and combinations that you got to do that it keeps it interested. By the end, you're busting so many combos as you progressing through the game that it gets so awesome. That's what Celeste kind of reminds me of it a little bit because of that action, the crazy action of having to do so many things at once.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll try it again. But then I saw that Bayonetta came out on the Switch, so I bought Bayonetta 1 and 2. So that's what I've been playing today. I'm about 4.5 hours into Bayonetta 1.
And they can use his amiibo.
Yeah, I don't think I could use it until 2. But I like it so far. It's not awesome. I mean, Platinum Games makes Nier, and Nier's one of my favorite games of all time. So I had really high hopes for Bayonetta, and I don't like it as much as Nier. It's a different type of game for sure, but
I've just played like minutes of those games, and everybody seems to say though that 2 is like a big step up.
Yeah, I would imagine. I'm just trying to bust.
Of course,
I could see that bust through 1 for the story, but it's good. It's
1, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's cool. I mean, the action's really good. The combos are really fun. It's just it pisses me off. You get a trophy at the end of every level, and I get the fucking stone trophy every level. Not even bronze, stone. So it goes stone, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and I get stone. It's like, it drives me crazy. It pisses me off. But I was reading online, and that's the case for most people on their first playthrough. So it's not just me. But I like it. It's wacky. You know, the game's wacky,
right?
Weird Japanese. I really like the style of it. It's pretty good. And it's kind of a 360 game, so it's a little bit older at this point, but it's good. So yeah, doing that, and then I think that's
comics
about it. I didn't read any comics.
Oh,
I didn't really watch anything. I mean, I saw
Black Panther.
Black Panther, and then I played a bunch of Monster Hunter. Beat the T-Rex a bunch of times, so I got pretty much a full set of T-Rex armor, which is awesome.
nice.
Have you unlocked? Are you through the? Have you unlocked stuff?
I'm through I'm to the 3rd area.
Okay, not the 4th yet?
Not the 4th yet.
Okay. You get to the 4th like after 2 quests in the 3rd. Like it pops right away. So.
Oh wow!
I just got the campsite in the 3rd.
Gotcha. It's awesome, huh?
Yeah, it's really awesome. It's crazy.
I like that level.
Yeah, after the first 2 are kind of generic, and then when you see the 3rd one, it's like, wow.
Let's not get carded. Let's move on here.
I'm not
get carded.
just saying it's really cool.
Flirting with it. Flirt with a yellow card at the very
Hey,
least.
I know the that's it though. That's my week.
Hard. Dirk.
Sweet. My week was consumed by Inkscape and learning vector graphics.
Oh.
Mardi Gras.
And Mardi Gras, yes. I went as White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. And my wife went as Mother Nature, and we had a really, really great time. Tuesday. Fat Tuesday, but Ash Wednesday hit with a crash, of course, like it always does. But yeah, I spent most of my week just learning how to do vector graphics, which is totally awesome. I have Inkscape. I'm falling in love with it. I can spend like hours on end working on this stuff. So hopefully that'll help the show out at some point. I read a buttload of comics. I finished Dastardly and Muttley, number 6. Yeah, just awesome series, man. And it ends perfectly with a bow on it. I read Maestro's 4, The Realm number 5.
Oh, nice.
And then, but my 2 highlights of the week, Swamp Thing Winter Special, which was written by Tom King. Yeah, awesome. Just it's a standalone. It's just one thing to read. I actually thought about picking it for CBBC, but I think I'm going to pass on it. But y'all should check it out.
I will definitely be picking the Alan Moore Swamp Thing at some point.
Yeah. Well, if you like that, Nate, you would totally dig this story.
Sure.
It's in that same vein. Yeah, and it's actually an homage to Lynn Wayne. Lynn Wine.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
okay.
he was co-creator. And then the other thing, I was so relieved and happy after reading this, but Phoenix Resurrection, The Return of Jean Grey, number 1, was so awesome.
Really?
I have been slamming X books for like the last 2 years, I feel like. I haven't gotten into any of them. I try to read them, and they just fall flat for me, to be honest. And this one was just a return to form and something different at the same time. And it turns out the writer is Matthew Rosenberg, the guy that wrote 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank. So
wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
totally made sense when I read it. I was like, that's why. It gives the majesty and the lure of her coming back some weight. You know, it doesn't feel like just a cookie cutter resurrection, which Marvel has a tendency to fall into occasionally. This actually feels like a momentous occasion, and the build-up is excellent. I've just read the first one, but just super awesome. It's so good to have an X book that actually feels good to read again.
Yeah.
Because the characters are just fantastic, man.
Yep.
To waste and not do anything with is terrible. So I think everybody's getting hyped for the Colossus Kitty Pryde wedding that's about to go down. Chris Claremont. What? No, it's all over the news.
Yeah.
You're good. You're good.
Chris, I mean, there is a news article saying that Chris Claremont's coming back to write the issue. So that's going to happen. And then with my Crunchyroll premium account, I started watching a bunch of anime. I'm trying to close out Attack on Titan Season 2, which is awesome, but in a lot of ways, it lags a lot. I mean, the non-action scenes, I could just give a shit about some of these people, and I don't care if I actually want to see them get eaten, to be honest. But but the action scenes are awesome in it. The weird thing is I watched Junji Ito Collection, which is a horror anime anthology series. So each episode self-contained. It didn't scare me that much, and I thought Japanese horror anime was supposed to be really scary. The first episode was not scary up to this point. I mean, I was more scared by Doki Doki than this. And then
Doki
the
Doki's
last,
scary.
it is Doki Doki is very scary. And then the last thing is I finished Left Behind, so I'm completely done with the entire thing.
Oh, isn't it great?
It is.
It's such a nice, like, just it's what the perfect epilogue can be.
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, it was so
No,
good.
without going into anything, yes. It was definitely a great addendum to the main story. You know.
Okay, so Last of Us spoiler cast coming up 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sweet.
That was my week.
This is week. Alright. This is week number 5. Batman Ninja anime movie
God.
gets
Yes.
a new English trailer and the US release date. So
Son, that shit right there. My God.
I didn't watch the trailer until after we
haven't.
voted, and it blew my mind again. Just like
Yes.
the first one did, this trailer blows my mind. I cannot believe that this product is quality, and it clearly is.
yeah.
I feel like I'm
I
gonna
can't wait.
just be frozen in my seat watching it, just like, you know, just
Wow.
Yeah.
it looks amazing.
Looks so amazing. Yeah, April 24th is the release date. Yeah, it just looks so awesome. Everything about the Joker looks badass. I mean, Batman's got the whole crew with him. And it looks cool. Like, it's not just a anime regular Batman story. It's like he's in Japan and they've taken away all his gadgets, so he has to be a ninja. You know,
Sick.
it's not like just an anime about the regular Batman. Like it looks so cool.
Yeah,
And
Can't
like,
wait.
yeah. Go ahead, Nate.
In that trailer, the one shot where he's like, "Where am I?" is so
Yeah.
great. It looks so cool. Like I just
Yeah, and like you said, the quality of the animation
Mhm.
is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't
I think
look
it's-
like, yeah.
I think it's CG. I don't think it's fully drawn.
I don't care. Yeah, that
But
doesn't.
No,
it
it
does.
just
It
looks
looks awesome. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, number 4.
Sweet.
Star Wars Episode 9 gets Blade Runner 2049 art director.
This is going to be awesome. I loved the art from Blade Runner 2049.
I didn't see it.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
I still
Well,
haven't seen it.
this blew my mind. It's
Yeah.
great. It's just as good. It's like the original Blade Runner, right? Only
Yeah.
up to today's standards of recording, and so much more high definition or whatnot. But I mean,
Yeah.
he nailed the feel of that old movie. So
did.
if he can nail the feel of old Star Wars, I'd love for them to
That's
go
awesome.
back to seeing the frames around the ships and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Movie
The
or
white,
something like
the
that.
white frame.
Yeah, right.
But- I agree, because watching Blade Runner 2049, he did such a masterful job to keep the same world and update it as it would look 30 years
Yeah.
from that.
Yeah.
It was just mind-blowing to watch the art direction and cinematography on that movie.
Yeah, I
So
just love the super long shots of his
Yeah.
stuff. It was so cool. Yep.
those wide-angle pan shots are...
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Number 3. More Star Wars. Star Wars Obi Wan spin-off rumored to begin filming next year in Ireland.
This is interesting.
So yeah, two
Yeah.
things here.
Ewan.
The
Ewan.
first thing is who is Obi Wan? It seems weird that they haven't announced it yet, right?
Yeah.
And if it's not him, then I'm really mad. Like
Wow, we know.
it had better be him. It
You're
had
so
better
old,
be.
man.
I know
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy's watching the show. Kathleen, I'm telling you.
Right, we don't need 3.
I'll
Obi-Wan.
re-vote. I don't know what I'll do. The second thing is clearly Ireland does not look like Tatooine,
Right,
No.
exactly. Yeah.
right?
Not a desert.
Yep.
That's interesting. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
won't be the island that Luke's on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
see?
I don't know.
Might. Or
We'll
it
see.
might. Or it might.
number 2. PS4 outsells the Switch for the 3rd straight week in Japan. So, obviously, probably thanks to Monster Hunter World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what pushed
Hey,
it
Dragon
up.
Ball.
So,
Dragon
Yeah.
Ball's killing it, too.
Yeah, clearly you make the correct point there, Corey. It is because of Monster Hunter, but
Yeah.
it'll be interesting. When I saw this as one of our choices, I voted for it just because I think it will be interesting to see this year
when the Switch is readily available everywhere, where is kind of the ceiling for it? Because it's been just boom, 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 super successful, doing great. And, but, clearly the PlayStation dominated this generation. So does the Switch continue that momentum? Or once, this year, when you look at all the great games that are coming out, Switch really hasn't announced anything, right? And with the PlayStation, we've got God of War, Spider-Man, just a slate of Red Dead, all these games coming out this year. And
Bayonetta 3.
Well, and they released Secret of Mana.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, it's not doing well.
No.
The reviews are kind of shitty.
No. They said it.
Too bad.
It could have not doing the job.
Well, I have Secret of Mana, my SNES Classic.
Yeah, I got to say just one last quick thing on the Switch. Like, I still do plan on getting a Switch at some point, but to me, they got to bring the games. Like, they haven't yet.
Yeah.
I feel like there's one, and for me because I own Breath of the Wild on Wii U, there's only Mario is the only game that I care about grabbing it for.
Not worth it.
Yeah, not yet.
Breath of the Wild, Corey's number 10 from last year.
Especially as you guys being as a Wii U owner for sure. If you don't have a Wii U,
buy a Switch.
There's enough games to hopefully get you through until a bunch of good new Switch stuff comes out.
I want one even just based on now that I've played with it
totally
a few
want
times.
one.
It's a quality piece of cool hardware, and I want it just for that. But they gotta keep up this momentum of like this game better be like Pokemon, Smash, and like Animal Crossing or something. Also,
Metroid.
Animal Crossing is nothing
Metroid.
great.
No, but it sells.
Yeah. So does cardboard cutouts for your...
That's true.
I mean, they've announced Bayonetta 3, the new Metroid, and they've said the next Pokemon's coming out. But,
but not this year, maybe.
Yeah.
Right?
We'll
At some point.
But number 1. Couple of big Bendis news items. Guess we'll start off. Bendis obviously has recently gone to DC. And it just kind of came on the news that he was actually offered Wolverine and Deadpool to stay with Marvel, which he obviously declined.
Which would have been great.
Yeah, which would have been great, yeah. But the bigger news, I think, is now that he's with DC, he's actually writing a movie, an X-Men movie for Fox, supposedly a Kitty Pryde movie for the Deadpool director. So, crazy. Bendis writing a movie for Marvel now that he's with DC, and also it's a Fox movie when Disney is supposedly buying Fox. So,
that's crazy.
Also, a Kitty Pryde movie would be awesome with the Deadpool director written by Bendis. So,
I'm so hyped about that. I love Kitty Pryde.
Me too.
I just hope that all of what you just said there doesn't equal it not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I didn't think about that.
But if it does happen, that should be awesome. I really hope
it's
it does.
Weird. So I thought his agreement was exclusively with DC, but I think because it's a film,
comics,
yeah, that's what it is. Wow.
No conflict of interest.
It's a play on both sides of the fence there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, and that brings us to the point in the show where we give the love back. This week, got a ton of subscribers. We're up to, 1,060 something last time I looked. Really, really appreciate all the new subscribers. When these people who subscribe to us also have channels, we'd like to point them back out to our community. If you're watching the video or if you're listening to the audio, go into the comments on our YouTube channel. Down there, we'll have links to every one of these people's channels. We go through that the week, check them out as we can, and try and shout them back out. So everybody, please check this out. This week, I have the Teddy Ball Game 15, Player 1 Start, Galactic James, Spenny GC, Save Gamers TV, Shasta Verde. What's that?
Same gamers.
Same gamer.
Oh, same gamers. I apologize, same gamers. Same gamers
Same
TV.
gamers.
Shasta Verde. K Nation? Q Nation? Gaming.
Yeah.
And Lovely Simmer.
I have Undeveloped Death, Pixel Slayers,
Wow. Undeveloped Death.
yeah. Stone Pony and Friends, Crazy Chad Gaming, Retired Saint Gaming, Vibra Gaming, 0666, SoCal Ashes, and Bad Day Guy Gaming, which is really hard to say.
That's awesome.
I got
These are getting good.
Sammy Salami Gur. The Fusion Owl. Mossy Moss Effect.
Good luck with that
Assassin.
Assassination. Yep. Cameraman 98. And Mr. Moore.
I got Cynicus, Manskirt Gaming,
Wow. Really?
Justin DX1,
Mansker has a kilt as his profile.
He does,
DeCanty Gaming, Kisso Gaming, and Silver Retro Collector.
Wow. Okay. So thanks so much.
Silver, it's Sylvie Retro Game Collector.
Okay. All right.
Silver Retro, I thought.
Gotcha. So really appreciate it from everybody. As always, it means a lot to us. And just like I say, everybody else watching, please go subscribe to these channels. Every week we do a name of the week. We pick the best name based only on the name, nothing to do with the content of the channels. This is a highly coveted award.
Yeah, it is.
If you ask around in your friends, family, social groups, you'll learn that of all the awards that it's possible to achieve, this may be a top 3, maybe something like that. Anyways, what do you guys think?
I like Stone Pony and Friends. I really do.
Go with Undeveloped Death.
They're actually a death
creative.
metal group that are trying to get their music out there. Pretty heavy core metal. Yeah, I was listening to it today. It was pretty good.
Oh.
That's cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Corey, what do you got?
Stone Pony and Friends.
It's a hard week.
Yeah.
Either that or Manskirt's runner up.
Bad Day Guy Gaming was pretty good, too.
Yeah.
It's just our-
That my vote does go to Bad Day Guy Gaming as well. Definitely.
It's hard to say.
But yeah, the 2 votes wins it. So Stone Pony.
Stone
and
Pony.
Friends.
Congratulations.
Stone Pony.
You
Pony.
can start telling all your friends and family now. All right, so
Hey,
thanks everybody. We're gonna move on to our Black Panther Spectacular, which is a full spoilers discussion. If you haven't seen the movie yet, this will be the end of the show for you. Go see it. Come back, then watch the show. Everybody else, if that's you, thank you for watching. This has been Comically Gaming, episode 92. We really appreciate it. You can find everything that we do over on our Patreon page at patreon.com/GCandC.
yeah.
Yep. Find us on Twitter at GCandC.
Yeah, and thanks to you to Fred Thomas for opening music and Xee Reiter for our logo. And don't forget next week for CBBC.
Spoilers.
We are doing
Saga.
number 1. Going back a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
Be there. All right.
Slavic chicken grease.
So here we go. We're going to the Black Panther
Full spoilers.
Full Spoiler Spectacular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Black Panther Spectacular. Finally upon us.
Before I get into it, as always, this is a full spoiler discussion. If you haven't seen Black Panther yet, go watch Black Panther, come back, and then watch the rest of the show. But and it was a good movie. I think everybody here will agree it was a good movie.
It was a great movie.
Yeah.
It was a great movie.
Okay, super. So yeah, we got some guests. Casey, as always, joins us. Casey, where can people find you?
In my garage, freezing my ass off. I'm on Twitter at Movie Night 88, and I just love talking movies, so that's me.
And new guest joining the show, Steph from the Not So Nerdy Nerd. Steph, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Raggedy Girl.
All right, excellent. And we will actually have a spotlight for Steph's channel a few episodes from now. I forget the specifics, but we'll get that around there. But yeah, everybody here to talk about Black Panther this evening. You know, it's opening weekend here. I guess kind of general around the horn. What did everybody think? I'll kind of start. I'll get this out of the way. We had some conversations and text messages last night. I'm not quite as high as Jeff and Dirk are on it, but I really liked it a lot. Another great Marvel movie. Just shocks me that they keep knocking these out. You know, there's hasn't been a stinker yet, and there's so many of them that you know, just really enjoying them.
Dude, I love this movie. I was trying to stay away from the hype and trying not to watch the trailers, and I was getting excited as Dirk and Corey were saying they were going to go see it, and I was blown away when I watched it, and not just from an MCU or a comic book movie. Right. I really think that this was Academy Award worthy, most definitely, because it was great all around. I love the pace, I love the storytelling, I love the character development, just the whole feel and the atmosphere. The CGI was heavy because it had to be, but it was really well done. But it was ILM, so go figure. You're going to have quality CG.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dirk, what do you got?
I'm going to try to just do bullet points here. So the theme of Afrofuturism was prevalent and awesome throughout it. Just a great lead into the next phase of Marvel, I think. Lean storytelling, hardly any filler, if any at all, I felt like in the film. One of the best, I think Casey mentioned this, one of the best intros of a solo Marvel character in the MCU up to this point. The triumph of strong feminine roles. Yes. And then also the father-son relationships in it, the betrayal and redemption, the self-reliance, and the fact that there was, and this might be a Marvel or a Disney thing, but zero sexualization of women throughout. And then true love was almost exemplified and rewarded in the relationships that did exist in the film, which I thought it just knocked it out the park for me, to be honest.
You got some heavy notes going on there tonight, dude.
Those are heavy notes.
That was great. That was great.
And besides a sense of true love, there was a sense of duty and honor to your country and to your people.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Corey?
I
bet you don't have the same notes that Dirk has.
I have no notes. I didn't think I was going to be part of the show. We had somebody drop on us last minute, so I don't have anything prepared, but I thought it was a great movie. I kind of on the stand about the same as Nate. I didn't think it was the best thing ever. I would honestly, I wouldn't put it in my top 5 Marvel movies, but I put it as another great Marvel movie for sure. The action was awesome. I really liked the characters. I thought it was a great movie. I didn't think it was Academy Award winning performance, but I thought it was great.
I loved it. This one echoes what some of you guys were saying, that I absolutely would put this in one of my top superhero movies for sure within Marvel. I really had a hard time finding something wrong with it. I just, coming back to like the female characters, in some of my, I've actually done a rant video about how bad I think they're portrayed, well, more so on TV than in movies. Sure. And I think they finally did it right in this one. So I was really happy to see that. And I'm not like a huge like I am woman, hear me war kind of person anyway. But I really thought this was so well done, and it wasn't forced or like pushed down your throat like they do. Like the remake of Ghostbusters comes to mind when you think like it's female, and they didn't do that with this, and I really appreciated that.
I wrote a lot of my thoughts in the chat earlier, so obviously you guys know how I feel, but I really, really love this movie. I feel like Marvel really can do no wrong going forward. It seems like every kind of character you think they might have a problem with or a hard time transferring what you've seen in comics for 60, 70 years into a live action format, they just kill it. And to echo you guys' sentiments about the strong female characters, I think there's three things that Marvel in general and superhero movies in general get really a lot of flack for, and that's that they don't have enough cultural diversity, they don't have enough strong female characters, and they don't have good villains. And this movie corrects all of those issues in a major way. Yeah. It's really respectful, and it honors a lot of the like several different types of African American cultures, like the tribal traditionalism, the Afrofuturism, which is an interesting way to say it, Dirk, and also sort of like the urban like Northern California, Oakland sort of ghetto version, which is where I grew up, so that rang true to me as well. Nothing was forced or, like making you feel like this is a movie only for African American people and you can't enjoy it, it's for us. It felt much more like a celebration of everything that is Black culture, and it made me really hopeful for movies in general going forward. I wouldn't say there was a performance that I thought was Academy Award worthy, but the storytelling and the visuals were spectacular. I never felt like what I was watching was fake. It always felt really natural and really well lit. Like they had fight scenes with lots of CGI in the daytime, and it still didn't look terrible or anything. And I just felt like it did the character justice, and this is a character that, I mean, it's amazing as a nerd community that we even get to see at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. All right, cool. So let's kind of breaking this up into a few different topics tonight. Want to talk first about just the story in general. I had originally broken this up into a million points, but I think we can all kind of cover a little bit whatever our favorite points or whatnot about it. Let's let Dirk go first this time.
Yeah. So I just thought it was. By the way, this is the biggest debut by an African American director in film history. That just came out today.
Nice.
That's massive in itself. But I think this was loosely based on the Ta-Nehisi run, Ta-Nehisi Coates run on the book. It just the story was fantastic. I mean, the fact that we get to see T'Challa basically die. I mean, essentially, and then return back with the help of the tribe that he conquered previously. Shows the sort of rebuttal to an outside, I guess, vengeful character. Yeah, right. Vengeful character that attacks. It's a very nuanced and for some people it might not be initially complex. If you're looking at it as a traditional sort of superhero film, it might get lost in that. But when you peel back some of those layers and look at those themes and examine them, there's a lot going on in the movie itself.
Yeah. So it's funny, Dirk, if I can just cut in for just a second.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing where I don't see eye to eye on you when we were talking about it over text message. Like, I feel like it to me, it is a traditional MCU movie, and I love it for that, like how it fits in. Like, I love the fact that in the MCU right now, we're going from a Thor and Hulk space buddy road trip movie that's a comedy to like this to another origin story that's like super serious and like
right.
Just it really I just like that they're so diverse now, that they make so many movies that they can make them so differently. You know what I mean? And
right.
But I do see it, fitting in. To be honest,
I think some of the issues that some people have had online is that they claim to go to this movie for escapism from real world problems, so to speak.
Yeah.
the thing is, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with escapism in and of itself. But Black Panther has, since its inception, been a political beast. I mean, that's written into the character. So you sort of have to consider that when you're going to see, especially at this moment in history that we're having, when you're going to see a film like this, you have to take that into consideration, at least.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The escapism was really well tackled in the film because technically that's kind of what Wakanda's been doing. They get called out for turning their back on African Americans and African people all over the world who need their help because it was easier and safer to stay in the shadows, which is a lesson that T'Challa has to learn throughout. He has to live in his father's shadow and then simultaneously question everything his father did because the people around him expect change. They don't expect him to be the same king. And he's also looking at his father and realizing throughout the story that he's made mistakes. And so you get to see this guy who is trying to be his father realize his father was flawed, that there's flaws in his own hero, and he has to become his own man. And so I was kind of curious how it would be an origin story when we already saw him being Black Panther in Civil War, but this is him really becoming the king of Wakanda. And I would argue that there has never been a leader in the MCU that has the same moral high ground, the same complexities, the same strength, the same, ability to express through words inspiring messages. He's a really wonderful character, and I can't take credit for this because I read it somewhere, but it makes a lot of sense to me. But there's a great juxtaposition between him and Killmonger and Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X.
Yes.
The angry, wanting revenge type of leader, the militant, let's just enforce our power, our will on the world because we've been wronged, and then the person who wants to make the world a better place, who wants to learn from his father's, his ancestors' mistakes and make this world better than the one he came into. And at the end of this movie, I was like, there's not one character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe I respect as much as T'Challa.
Yeah, when you talk about the leader, like I'd way rather be on Team T'Challa than Team Cap or Team Tony.
Well, I mean, Cap has the morality, but he's a good military leader. Yeah. But he's not a wise person. It's like, and Vision's probably the only person who could be as wise as T'Challa, but he's a fucking robot. It's not really fair.
Yeah, right.
So, exactly. He has the entire internet. So T'Challa kind of is a blend of Cap's morality, the wisdom of a Vision, the technological prowess of a Tony Stark. He's everything, and he's also the leader of a massive group of people who are going to influence the world going forward in a major freaking way.
Right.
No, I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying, and that's something that I noticed too, kind of talking about how different it is compared to what we've kind of been just come off of with Thor Ragnarok and the Guardian movies just being so funny and just kind of taking you out of your own reality a little bit to kind of go escape into this movie. And I kind of liked that this had a much different tone. Mm-hmm. So I hope people don't go into it expecting the humor that you tend to see in Marvel movies, especially with the latest ones with Thor Ragnarok and stuff, because it's definitely not that. Yeah. But I also think it would have been almost inappropriate to have that kind of humor in this. So I would have been way more distracted had they included that. So I think it was so appropriate with the humor that they had. I'm glad they toned it back, and this was a much more serious movie. And I actually rewatched Civil War earlier today, and forgot how much Black Panther was actually in that movie. Right. He was in it way more than I had remembered when I originally saw it. But I'm glad they didn't make this his origin, like you were saying, from the very, very beginning of how he became Black Panther. We saw that in Civil War. They didn't need to, recreate that in this one. They could just get right to it. And I like that they showed how he evolved, as a leader and a warrior and what sort of was going to become important to him. I thought that was great that they kept that as the focus.
I thought it was, a good take on an origin movie. That like you guys said, it's not necessarily how he became Black Panther, but how his character grew and how he becomes Black Panther as the King of Wakanda. I thought it was really great. I also agree with the not forcing any comedy in it. That's one thing I hate is for a serious movie where they try and put comedy in it just for kicks to make people laugh, and there wasn't much of that at all. A few chuckles here and there, but nothing forced. I felt like in Spider-Man there were a few times when there was comedy in there where it shouldn't have been placed, and there was none of that going on here. thought it was a really good story, good villain. I liked everything about it.
Well, I thought the humor is very subtle, and it was well placed. It was great timing in the humor.
Yeah.
If you look at the story from a whole, if you just looked at like an abstract, so to speak, it was more of a new leader coming in and learning the ropes of how to be a leader, talking with his father, and we'll get more into that with characters. But as Casey said, there was that great juxtaposition between Killmonger and T'Challa. But I like that Corey brought in, not Corey, my bad, Casey brought in about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, because when I was watching this movie and the story, I was thinking back to Spike Lee, and I was thinking of Do the Right Thing. And in that movie, there's a picture of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and then at the end of that movie, there's two quotes, one from Martin Luther King and one from Malcolm X.
Dichotomy. Right.
It was dichotomy. And Martin Luther King was always more of the pacifist, let's just solve this peacefully. And Malcolm X was, let's do peacefully, but if that fails, turn to violence. And so you sort of saw that throughout the story, that whole, let's try it, play it safe, let's not do anything, but then we're not helping our people out in the long run, and violence came, and so they met it with violence and then realized that they need to not police the world, but make their presence known and help out in the overall. So there was a lot of current political undertones, which really gets in depth on the layers of an onion, if you think about it.
Yeah, I do just kind of want to throw in also that as we were talking last night and going back and forth about this, the one problem that I have with the story, the only one really when I go back and look at it, is that, if Wakanda truly is the most advanced civilization on Earth, like you think about where the MCU is trying to put this in on modern day Earth of what compared to like New York City or London or whatnot, and now Wakanda's going to be on the map or whatnot at the end of this. And just, I'm not okay with let's have trial by combat to select our leader. And if the crazy man wins it, and yeah, sure, we'll give him all the most advanced weapons on Earth to send around the globe. Like,
How about Trump?
Yeah.
It's totally happening right now.
okay, let's not,
that far off?
not go that far.
I'm sorry.
Go that
I
far.
think that's more of like that's more tradition meeting technology. That's what I loved about it, is it celebrated like African tribesmanship and all the rich culture that is there. It didn't diminish that by them having technological advances. They were able to integrate both and appreciate both because of tradition. Some traditions are worth keeping and some advancements are worth accepting. So as part of like him and his sister conversing about that, and she knows as much about technology as Stark does. So it's crazy because they can make the world a better place, but also, like he said, do it the right way.
You're right.
Right,
you're
but
right.
trial by combat might be one to get rid of.
No, I like the trial by combat.
Might be the loophole.
Trial by combat was great because it was showing that they keep some of their deepest traditions, like Casey said, and still embrace technology. But they go to the point that for something as significant of being the ruler of Wakanda, it goes back to the very, very ancient rituals of trial by combat. 2 men enter, 1 man leave. Basically, it's Thunderdome.
Well, it's also not a test of wisdom in the way because whoever wins that becomes the Black Panther. You get imbued with strength and quickness and agility and all these things.
Right.
And you get the suit. So like you need a warrior there. You can't have like the smartest guy in the world, but he can't do one sit up. Like, I'm sorry, he needs to be Black Panther. So
Yeah.
it has to be a little bit of a physical test.
Yeah. We'll agree to disagree to some extent there, but I am with you. I hear you. That you made a compelling argument, definitely.
As usual.
Okay, yeah. You're a little less drunk this time than last time. Also, I noticed.
Well, it's not game.
I'm just trying to drink to keep me warm. It's cold.
Right. Okay, so moving along, we all kind of felt very strongly about how well these characters are portrayed in this movie. I'll just kind of briefly throw it off the top here where I particularly liked, and I never can remember the actors' names, but the Michonne.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What's her
Yes.
name? Davey or Daly something, I forget. But
Deny, I think.
what
Is that her
was
name? Is it Deny something?
Deny
Okay.
Guerrera.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're probably right. She was great in it. She was
Yeah.
really, really good. And the then the guy who is in Get Out, who's the star of Get Out,
Yes.
who was
Daniel Kaluuya, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was great in this too. I mean, he was very rarely the kind of turncoat back guy who then
Judas.
yeah, Judas, right. The Judas role
Judas.
is usually not portrayed very well, and I thought that guy did it great, man. That he's
Yeah.
2 for 2 for the movies that I watched him in the past couple
Yeah.
of
You
years.
Which one
understand
was
why
he? The
wants
guy-
what he wants.
Black
He was-
Panther's buddy from the beginning who
Yeah,
took
the guy with
Yeah.
the
The
rhino.
blue leader at the
Killmonger's.
end.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
The
Yeah,
guy
he
with
was
the
great.
rhino.
Rhinoki.
Rhino.
Yeah, other than that, go ahead,
Yeah.
you guys. I'm sure you guys have more points you want to make on these characters.
I love the villain. I like Killmonger. I really did because
Yeah.
of a lot of the Marvel villains that have fallen flat in the past. This one you really connected with. And some will say that, well, it was more of a revenge trip because of the death of his father. It had nothing really to do with it. He didn't see his father die. He knew that his father was killed, but his upbringing in Oakland, well, with Panther Claus, and I think they sort of made that just to make a point in the movie. But growing up in Oakland in the 90s was a really rough time. And they did show that on the news a little bit with the riots going on. Rodney King riots were going on in 92. And so he was pretty much his whole life was born of violence, and he felt comfort in it. That's why he joined the military, because he felt comfort in the violence, and it made him what it was today. And it wasn't until he got wind of Wakanda running into Claw that then he started pursuing his homeland and wanting to take the right, because he was the cousin of T'Challa, and I'm terrible with names.
T'Challa.
Yes, that guy. And so, he was taken as more of his birthright. His father was killed. He didn't know the whole story, but then it blew up that whole T'Challa's view of his father being this great king. It blew a great king. It blew up that whole facade and storyline he had. And then I love the symbolism when Killmonger took the herb and became the Black Panther. He went into that plane, that Vision Quest kind of thing, and he was back in that apartment as a lost one. That's all he knew, and he really still saw himself as a little kid that was scared and needed his father's support, and his father wasn't there. And he thought by taking and becoming king of Wakanda, that would fulfill him.
Right.
I love Ting
And-
too. You ever have that?
What's that?
Ting?
But
Ginger
then
soda? Jamaica?
Wow. But then I loved T'Challa's sister, Nokia.
Yes.
Is it
No, Shuri.
Shuri?
Sure, yeah.
I thought Shuri was his girlfriend, and I thought, oh, no,
No,
Tia
Shuri
was...
is
No, Shuri is his
Shuri's just,
sister.
I love Shuri because she was Q. I love the James Bond references in this movie. I loved it. She was Q. It was awesome.
Yeah, she was
Smartest person in
awesome.
the room, too.
She was probably one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
And then I liked Sterling K. Brown. Even though he wasn't in it very long, he did a great job of playing the brother of the king at the time that got killed.
Right.
So, there we go. Next, Casey.
Yeah, the characters for me were the standouts of the film. I mean, the action was great. The story had a lot of interesting arcs and stuff, but the characters are what you need to really emphasize when you're starting a new franchise. And if you think they're not getting a trilogy out of Black Panther, you're crazy. T'Challa himself, I felt like I already knew a little bit about who he was after Civil War, but this emphasizes why he is who he is, why he's trying to be the perfect king, and you respect him so much. Like even the part where he's doing the trial by combat with I think it's M'Baku, the leader of the other tribe that's sort of the outsider tribe who hates the kingdom or whatever. That guy tries to kill him so hard, and when he finally wins, he begs him to just give up so he doesn't have to kill him. He's like, "You fought bravely, you fought honorably. Just give up or whatever." And that pays dividends later because that same guy could have taken that herb, but he didn't. He's like, "You guys need to see something," and then he gave it back to T'Challa because of respect. It's a respect of your people, and I love that they show that you can be kind and you don't have to mistake your kindness for weakness. He is as strong morally as he is physically, and I really liked this character. Killmonger was amazing as the villain. I felt like you understood why he wanted what he wanted, and he wasn't wrong, to the point where his beliefs changed T'Challa's beliefs. It made him realize the fallacy of his father's kingship, and it made him realize that going into the future, Wakanda can no longer be an island. It has to reach out, or else it's like Spider-Man says in Civil War. He says, when you have the powers I do, when you can do the things I can do, and you don't, and the bad things happen, they happen because of you. And I think that he's kind of getting that same lesson through seeing the problems of his father's kingship, and I really love that. And so Killmonger was necessary for T'Challa to become the king he really wanted to be, to break from tradition in the best ways and make the world a better place. I loved the Royal Guard. I loved that you could believe that those 6 women could take on an army of like 70 dudes with vibranium swords and still kick their ass.
To piggyback on Killmonger, I just thought it was great, this illustration of being rootlessness, as in, you know, in Oakland, not having the connection to the homeland, and ergo, a reflection of the theme of African versus African American, which was illustrated several points throughout the movie, but that was the biggest, I think, reflection of it. So basically, just going back to the idea of rootlessness, that's one of the things I really liked about the illustration of Killmonger. Sort of that's where his vengeance was cultivated from. The idea that I want to take what's rightfully mine because I never had it in the first place. Versus, and probably a great amount of jealousy, you know, for T'Challa, who had the home and had, you know, that nobility that Killmonger was looking for. But then also, since we didn't cover this, I got to give shout out to Martin Freeman as Everett K. Ross. Because,
I love that guy.
Yeah, he was awesome as comic relief throughout. Yeah. I mean, I for as serious as a movie as it was, and the heavy themes and whatnot, you definitely needed at least a little comic relief in there, and it was artfully placed, and he definitely delivered it. So
even the wig was artfully placed.
Yeah,
because they set that scene up so awesome going to the casino.
Yeah.
That was when I recognized. That was when I recognized her. When she had the wig on, I was like, "Oh, that's Michonne."
I didn't notice it until you said it last night.
I didn't notice it until you said that. Yeah.
As soon as that was over, I was like, I couldn't believe I didn't see it after that.
Yeah.
But it's funny.
I agree with you guys. I love these characters. I felt like they were just deeper than you typically see in a lot of superhero movies, and they did it with more than just like the 1 or 2 main characters. They got into it a lot more. And one thing I think I kind of screwed up a little bit on in when I watched the movie was thinking that Killmonger was kind of like more one note than I kind of gave him credit for. And after reading some of your the thread on Twitter and reading what you guys had to say about him, I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And I like thought about it a lot today after the movie. And felt like he really, you'd see where he was coming from, and he really thought he was doing the right thing. And then again, when I watched Civil War, it was the same thing when Captain America and Iron Man were on different sides of the issue, but they both thought they were doing the exact right thing. Right. And Killmonger was kind of the same way. He felt like he was helping and was ready to die for that. But I think the casting was just great with every single character. And I loved Shuri. I loved his sister. She was another one that I kind of thought was a little bit of a comic relief. And I loved her interaction with her brother. I thought that was really good.
Yeah. Well, she split them off at the beginning of the movie, too. And then the mom's like, yells at her without looking. And I was like, yes.
Yeah, that was crazy. But I just loved all the characters in this one.
I love them too. I mean, my favorites were probably T'Challa, Shuri, and Michonne. I mean, could have watched Michonne kick ass all day. Shuri was awesome. When she was driving the car, she just seemed genuinely so hyped to be doing it. It was such a great scene. Her and T'Challa's interactions were great. I liked Killmonger. I didn't think he was like the best villain ever, but I thought he was good. But yeah, definitely T'Challa, Shuri, and Michonne kicked ass. It was so awesome, and great role of female characters. Obviously, the one character I wish I would have seen more was Bucky. I wish he would have been
Oh, yeah.
more in the movie rather than just after
Agreed.
credits.
Would you think that
Like,
there's no possibility that he's being cast as Geralt, right? Was that just like a
No.
coincidence?
What?
What
No.
I didn't see any Geralt
No.
pointing at.
The White Wolf
Xee
thing
Reiter.
at the end.
no.
Oh
no,
yeah,
dude.
no, that's just his
No.
nickname, right? No, I don't.
Yeah.
I was
think
hoping.
that's a
I was like,
coincidence, yeah.
maybe
I
they're
was
connecting it. But
What?
Yeah.
I'd love for
But-
for Disney to make the Witcher.
A Witcher?
movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with Corey. I feel like I'm sorry. The villain Killmonger does have a good story. He is a great character. When we were kind of arguing back and forth last night, my personal preference for MCU movies is I like the super fantastical stuff. I liked the opening scene of Guardians 2 when they're fighting this gigantic
Oh, yeah.
thing. I love Thor and Hulk fighting each other, or Hulk and Loki. Like, those are the moments that really like bring me back to feeling like a kid when I'm watching these movies. So watching the two humans fist fight doesn't do it for me quite as well, you know. But great characters. I got nothing to argue against any of the points that any of you guys made. Definitely. All right, so key point of this movie that we all kind of wanted to talk about as well as we were going back and forth is the music, the soundtrack. I'll start and end my part of the conversation with Too Short. I'm a huge Too Short fan. When it opened in Oakland and there was music in the background, I was like, if that's not Too Short, then this movie's not right. And I was like, boom, I heard his voice. I was like, yep, that's Too Short. They nailed
Nice.
it. And also just it blew my mind that I think that a Disney movie opened with Too Short. Like, you heard
Yeah.
Too Short's voice before any other character in a Disney movie really blew me away. So that's it. I'll
That's
I'll
awesome.
stop there.
I don't have much to say about it. Just that I loved that even more so than the song choices,
Yeah.
the OST, the original score, and the beat work that apparently Kendrick Lamar, I don't know how much he had to do with the actual creation of the music or if he helmed it, but those cut scenes, like when I could hear like the 808s in the back sort of dropping and just, it was nice, man. It was just so refreshing and different to hear that in the back versus, you know, like stuff I guess I've heard in other MCU movies. It was nice to hear. It fit the tone of the film also just excellently. It was that melding of ancient with tech.
Dirk's pretty much hit it on the head. He's a musician of us, so.
I didn't have any super strong feelings about the music, but I did really like all the I guess like African beats and stuff that they did.
Yeah.
I used to dance for like, I don't know, 20 some years or whatever. So some of that was kind of cool for me to hear because I could like picture myself, oh, this would have been a fun like number to do in the recital with like tap or something. So that's kind of where I was coming from with the music. But I thought it was great because it was something, again, it was kind of different, you know, with Guardians and stuff, you know, you had all familiar music basically. So this was just something different and I like that.
My favorite section of music was that car scene.
Yeah.
You could hear it as just staccato, just like pop, 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 just kicking. It was like so perfect for it.
Yeah. Corey?
Yeah. I liked it.
Okay. Perfect.
I liked it.
Perfect. All right. So finally, we just wanted to discuss. Clearly, you can't talk about this movie without talking about the cultural impact that it has, you know, especially in the world that we live in today. I think, you know, full acknowledgement, we're a bunch of white people sitting around talking about Black Panther. I'll just point out from my point of view that I really like whenever there is any type of minority or gender portrayed differently in movies or books or video games or any of the things that we cover, I always tend to enjoy it the most when it's not when I can look at the movie, it was just a story about these people and these characters without that being the point. Like, this is a Marvel character, right? That's set in that setting, and that was it.
Right.
And just those are the kind of things that I feel like you can be disingenuous to the cause of whatever it is that you're trying to portray if you're too heavy-handed in it. And I don't think this movie was like that at all. You know, so I just thought it succeeded on all those levels. You know.
Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah, and I'll say I saw it in. I watched this at the movie theaters in this town by me, and I'm pretty sure every Marvel movie I've seen there, the whole audience was white, and I mean it was by far the most diverse audience that I've seen at this theater, and I just think that's awesome. It brought in people that you don't normally see there, and it's appealing to obviously everybody, and it just didn't really make me realize that mostly like any other time I've seen a movie there, it's all white people. Like maybe black people are feeling singled out or whatever. But it was awesome seeing the diverse crowd and everybody that the movie brought in. I just thought it was great.
What I really loved is that there was no heavy-handedness from the production studio, which is Disney, trying to steer anything in this movie. It had an almost all black cast, a black director, and I think back to when Spike Lee did his Do the Right Thing and how much struggle he had to try and make that movie, and how much the big movie producers wanted to change his story, change the ending. They wanted to do all this, and the unions were against him about having a crew that was all black, and it was like Nate said, it wasn't in your face, and what was great is it did not follow the typical Hollywood cookie cutter kind of stereotype kind of movie that they think would cater to a diverse group.
Agreed. Yeah.
It was great.
It felt like an MCU movie.
It did. It didn't feel like anything that you'd seen like from the 70s with like Shaft or any of those movies. It wasn't like this over-the-top humor. It was just a great movie, and it didn't matter who directed it, but it did, and he nailed it.
Yep.
He nailed it perfectly. I love the history because they did talk about the significance that everyone started in Africa and then migrated out from Africa. That is where the History Man actually started. No spoiler. You're a spoiler. But I love that. I love
of humanity.
It is a spoiler. But I love the artwork, and I love the fact that there has been talk about how the city in Wakanda kind of looked. It looked like partially high tech, but then it had some seedier sides. But I thought that it was great because a lot of that backdrop and a lot of that diegetic atmosphere that you got on the mise-en-scène was embracing their cultural history and then showing their technology.
Right.
And I thought that was great. I thought that was great because on the outside it looked like a giant mountain, then you see a city inside, and then when you get into the tech center, it was all high tech. Yeah. But then I was thinking about when they were up at the mountain tribe, how the backdrop for that guy was great because it had the logs hanging from ropes, but it just was. I loved how it framed that whole throne in the back, and then there was a gorilla holding up that throne room. Basically, it was
that's awesome.
Mid-century modern inside his throne room. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Steph, you got anything on the?
I mean, I can't really add anything to what you guys all said when it comes to this. Just that I think it was all just organic, and it wasn't forced, and it wasn't pushed down anybody's throat. And I think that's part of what made it so good because it didn't seem like there was an agenda. They just made a really good movie with predominantly African-American cast and directors and, music directors, and I think it really just worked. Yeah. So,
And Casey,
really well done.
Now that you're back after the computer malfunction.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glitching out. No. So I love this movie for what it means to cinema and for the African American culture. I feel like Ryan Coogler was the perfect director to handle this material. When I watched Creed, I felt like a lot of people just kind of dismissed it like, oh, they're just making Black Rocky. And I'm like, first of all, go cut some holes in your pillowcase because you're a racist piece of shit. And that's not how a movie. It was one of my favorite movies of that year. It's probably my favorite movie of the year. And he just handles things with so much poise that you can have an all-black cast or a 99% black cast with Frodo or Bilbo and Gollum, the token white guys, and it's still totally okay because it's like you said, where it doesn't have to be a blaxploitation film or a Tyler Perry movie to have it all black cast.
Yeah,
That's what this movie did. It made you feel like part of the family. You didn't feel like, oh, this movie's great, but it's not made for me, so I can only kind of enjoy it. No, anybody can enjoy this movie. Young kids, I don't care what color they are, can look up to T'Challa as the kind of man or leader or person they want to be. And it's a beautiful story. It has a lot of heart. It has a lot of hope at the end. I really felt like as hopeful and inspired by his character and the change in him, the fact that he was willing to go against the grain. And it's like we talked about earlier with the trial by combat. Yeah, there's some sort of, what we would consider barbaric traditions that maybe don't fit into the 21st century. And one of them was being hidden and not helping the world. So the fact that he's willing to be bigger and than his ancestors, the fact that he's willing to make right the things that they've done wrong, just makes him a really great character. And this franchise going forward, as well as the MCU going forward with Wakanda and what that means as a part of the landscape for the MCU, is a huge game changer. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It's a game changer for comic book movies in general, and the MCU.
Right. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Absolutely.
Casey, I'll let you actually start on the next one. Move into just kind of final thoughts. Anything else that you missed that you guys want to talk about in this movie, and then your score out of 10, 10-point system, no 0.5s.
Well, speaking of scores, one of my favorite things about this movie is the soundtrack. I was bumping it for like a week, getting so pumped. It was amazing. I'm listening to it all the time, as I was driving home, I listened to it and then immediately went to Netflix and watched Civil War because I just had to get more Black Panther, and we're already scheduling the same thing. It's just like there's nothing like it. Like we got home and I'm trying to catch my girlfriend up on Game of Thrones because she's not caught up, and I was like, watch some Game of Thrones. She's like, I can't. All I can think about is Black Panther and how good it was. And I'm like, I know, me too. So let's do that. Let's watch Civil War and get more Black Panther in our life. But no, it's a great movie. I would give it. I kind of want to give it a 9.5 out of 10 because
no points. No points. You got solid points.
Well, it's really hard to give something a 10. It's not perfect, but it's. I can't think of anything wrong in it, and there's not a whole lot of things I could think could have been handled better either. The material is really, really appropriately handled. I feel like there's so much respect for the culture that it represents on both sides, the modern side and the tribal side, the traditional side. That Ryan Coogler just made a movie that feels bigger than real life, and maybe there is a little bit to be said about the escapism, but they have their own message about that by themselves. So like you can't really feel bad about it. It's inspiring. It's hopeful. It's beautiful. I'll give it a 9 out of 10, but it would be a 9.5 if you weren't a fucker. So,
Jeff.
Oh man. First off, I'm gonna give it a 9. I agree with Casey. It's really hard to have a 10. It really is. Even Bo Derek's 10 is not a 10.
Feels great, though.
But I agree. I think that it was very respectful. It was well done. It didn't try to cater to one group at all. It was just an overall very well done movie. And it was exciting that it was part of the MCU, and it raises the bar for DC even more. It really
absolutely.
They're going backwards compared to this.
I did love this movie. I like the score, and I look forward to Infinity Wars coming up here pretty soon, and I look forward to the sequels that they're going to do with this movie. I cannot wait for that, but.
Yeah, clearly, you bring it up. Clearly, from the trailer of Infinity War, Wakanda's going to play a huge part in it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's their army that you see in that trailer.
It is.
If I can say one more thing.
Go ahead.
I can't believe that it's going to be the backdrop for the main invasion. It's going to be so much bigger in scope and stuff than the New York, stuff. But it's crazy.
So what's your score, Jeff?
And
I said at the beginning, I give it a 9.
No, that's right.
I definitely give it a 9. But right. I also, one last thing is that I like that it showed Africa as a continent and has countries that can have just as much technology as the rest of the world, and it's getting away from that one single story that you always hear if you think of Africa, which is, for a lot of us that grew up watching cartoons, was a dark continent. And I love that they showed the beauty of that continent, because it's not a country, which sometimes is referred to as a country, but I think overall it was a great way to showcase another part of the world and give you a history lesson.
Nice. Corey?
Great Marvel movie. I give it a. I love the characters. I love the story. I thought it was a great kind of origin movie. I'm definitely excited to see T'Challa in all the upcoming movies. I hope Shuri's in there and Michonne too, whatever her name was in the movie. But great stuff. I agree with Nate. I like the bigger stuff better. I liked Thor better. I liked Spider-Man better. I like Guardians of the Galaxy better. That's just more my style of Marvel movie. But as far as the action Marvel, more serious one goes, I thought it was great, and I'd give it a 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
8. All right.
That's
Casey,
good.
you want to butt in for a sec?
Yeah. So one thing I had to say is that I was really, really amazed that 10 years into the MCU, this movie did not need to stand on the shoulders of the movies that came before it. It didn't use Avengers references. Like, I love Daredevil, but there's plenty of Avengers references and stuff like that. Like, it didn't need to piggyback on the popularity of characters that we already love and they're already huge and already sell, a million fucking Halloween costumes and stuff like that. Like, they were like, no, this is our own world, our own story. At the end of the movie, we'll break the barrier and it will be part of the MCU. But right now, we're going to tell one story for one character to let you understand the culture and the massive impact of that culture and the character. And it was amazing that there wasn't like really any references. Like, even when he saw the character from the CIA, Martin Freeman's character, he doesn't talk about like, where'd you take the Winter Soldier? There was like no Civil War references at all, except for that his father died, which was part of his story. It was really respectful in that way, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Dirk?
Yeah, I definitely give it a 9. I mean, out of 10. I just, it was, New Orleans is a majority black city. And going to the theater with the people that I saw around me, which was so different in a lot of ways than the normal movie-going experience, there was just something really refreshing about seeing kids look up to a hero that reflected what they look like.
Yeah.
And seeing even older, I saw middle-aged women wearing dashikis and just so fully into it. And I've never seen that in black culture at like events or social events. And to have it reflected in a film was beautiful. I think a lot of times change, like crazy amounts of change, subtly happen in the entertainment industry first, more so than like political landscapes or anything else. I mean, if you think about rock and roll and like how that converted, from like Chuck Berry, whatever, stolen by Elvis, yada yada, and white kids co-opted it. This was like putting black culture front and center, but it was also relatable just by watching the film, like you guys said. So it was just, I think, I give it a 9, but the effect of the movie that it could possibly have is like an 11 or 12 or whatever. So
Crank it to 11.
All right, Steph?
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I mean, I would go back and see it again because I'm sure there was stuff that I would pick up on second time around. It makes me want to go watch Infinity War tomorrow. Like, I can't wait for that to come out. And I did
Me a ticket too.
Yeah, and I did the same thing. I came home and I was like, I want to watch Civil War because I want to see more Black Panther. Like, I could not get enough of it and thought about it the whole day. So I would definitely give it a 9 only because nothing's perfect, but I couldn't find anything wrong with it.
Right,
Yeah.
gotcha. All right, well, I'm gonna come in a little bit lower than everybody else.
Boo.
So
Calm down.
listen, I gotta explain myself.
Don't make me bring up Suicide Squad.
If I, well, that'll come in even lower. But no, I would point out that my favorite. I love comic book movies, all of them. I love Suicide Squad. As terrible as that movie is, I'll go watch all this crap. I don't rank. When I'm ranking movies, my favorite comic book movies are like hit the ceiling of like an 8 compared to like what I think are some of the best films in movie history, and I feel like they're not on the same level of kind of deepness of storytelling and things like that. So I'm gonna give this a 7.
Wow.
Again, saying that my favorite comic book movies would be an 8. Did I just get the whack card there? But I seriously have nothing negative to say. That's a good score. I liked the movie.
Good. That is
the character, all that stuff. So I don't want to
It's a
be
C,
taken as
you asshole.
negative.
B-.
All right, thanks as always, Casey.
You at least give it a B for
joining us.
Black Panther. God damn it.
Casey, what's the next movie coming up? You're gonna join us for?
Whichever one you asked me to do, but probably Infinity War, unless you do Ready Player One.
Oh,
Yeah, I think we will do that.
don't get Nate started on that because
Although he's disappointed by the latest
I'm
trailer.
very anti-Ready Player One at this
Stop.
point. The more I see it, the more
Stop.
mad I am at it.
It's Spielberg. He
think
never
they
he didn't
have
make
to
a
do it.
bad movie.
Okay,
It
we
might not
got
be good.
April 22nd is New Mutants.
Ooh.
Yeah.
When does
Yeah.
Deadpool
Come on,
come out?
Casey.
Deadpool comes out like the 18th, right? May 18th?
May's gonna be busy. The Han Solo
May's
movie
crazy.
comes out that month too.
And,
Memorial
and
Day.
Infinity War.
You'll be seeing a lot of me on May.
Dude,
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us always. Steph, one more time, where can people find your channel real quick?
Not So Nerdy Nerd on YouTube. So
Okay.
Nice.
Thanks for
Go
joining
check
us,
it out.
definitely.
check it out.
been a good
It's,
time.
it's
We'll have
definitely
you-
worth a watch. I've watched a lot of her videos and they're really good.
thank you so much.
Yep, absolutely. So that's it. That's Comically Gaming, episode 92.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. You guys are the best.
Yeah.
Thanks for
You
watching.
guys are the best.
Yeah.
You guys.